Journalism.
Yeah.
You own and publish the LA Tribune. It's pretty hard to read stuff nowadays.
It certainly is.
When I read your paper, it feels like you try to put as much positive stuff as you can in there about the community. But what's going on? I mean, you saw Tucker leave Fox. You see now him on Twitter, which is now X. The landscape of individual publishing is amazing. And what really is disturbing me is I used to think it was a good thing that anyone could report whatever they wanted on social media. But now I see that people are getting their news from social media, and some of it's so wrong, right? But you have taken this paper, made it digital. It's been around a long time. What's the future of journalism?
Digital and print, and you bring up such important points, Todd. And I'll remind folks, if we don't have freedom of speech in this country, then we don't have this country. And I'll remind folks that this incredible experiment called the United States of America, which a few dozen smart folks gave us this gift, every single right that we have is given to us by God, not by the state. And every single right that we have is equally important. And so we either continue to be the beacon of hope for this world, or people will look back and say, there was once upon a time a country, lasted a few hundred years, a blip in the eye of world history, and people started censoring words, and that country ceased to exist. And so a few years ago, my partners and I took over this brand. We took it over with that as the centerpiece of the work that we do. Freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is always number one. By the way, we publish folks that I personally disagree with, but I will fight for their right to share their point of view, because that's what makes our country so great.
So, in terms of what journalism looks like going forward, though, it's very fragmented. People get a lot of news on Facebook, et cetera. What does it look like? Like, what does 5 years from journalism look like now? Because you see also, too, the only thing that matters is some of these local channels. I was just on Channel 4 the other day. They told me the local channel, all that matters to them is football and news. They don't get to sell anything else. I mean, I know there was a time when people watched Days of Our Lives, right? A lot of this there's local news. That's really the value they have, and the NFL, obviously, and some live sporting events. But where are people going to get their news in the future?
Well, every industry, including our industry, is shifting because of AI. And I'm going to get to a specific reason why I'm going there with your question. We have companies now based out of different countries that are now using AI and the translation techniques, skills, to now penetrate into the market here in the United States. And people don't even know that. And so we're really in a global environment now as we move forward toward this world order. And so we need more American companies. We need more people that have American values for our society. So those principles in the Constitution are upheld when it comes to journalism. As far as the economic future of journalism, I believe a lot of it will be virtual. We have a sector in our company that focuses exclusively on virtual summits. And so I'm just honored to be amongst such incredible people, and the virtual aspect is the future. Whether it's AI, whether it's VR, a lot of those things are the future. In fact, I believe Risk On in the future will be virtual, or at least an element of it. We could put on some goggles and experience what we're experiencing here. So it's all going in the direction of the virtual. And if folks here have a business and they're not contemplating, what does that mean for your business in the future? Well, you might end up in the dinosaur club, and that's a club you don't want to be in, right?
I admit that you got to do things virtual, but I like meeting people, shaking people's hands, breaking bread with them. I like that kind of thing. The only thing I'm bummed about as I get older is that I used to have a photographic memory. Now I can't remember everyone's name, and I'm sorry if I met you before and I look at you and go, I know you. That's happened to me older. And the virtual side of it, I agree. I was on one of your virtual conferences, and I see the power of what you're doing, and I kind of get that. But I want to go back to, like, where will people, in your opinion, get their media? Meaning, where will I get my news? Is it going to be more fragmented? Will it roll up into, you ever see that scary thing where it's newscasters reading about false information,
Yes.
and they do so on and so on and so on, and then every single channel read it looked like the same
Yeah,
exact
it was very
thing?
dystopian. It was very Brave New World. I know what you're talking about, and that's why independent companies like us are so important for this country. That's why supporting the Los Angeles Tribune, an independent organization, not a conglomerate, not a company that has just a bunch of different things that they're all feeding the same information to, but independent journalism. You know, the fabric of what makes our society great is getting information and not being condescending to the audience.
There used to be a time where you had to have, it had to be local ownership. You couldn't own more than 20% of all the media, and you couldn't own like all these TV stations that have rolled up where they're sort of all in the conglomerates. But now anyone can just publish digitally whenever they want to, right? So how do you guys get your stories? Talk about how the paper operates, because my question is I was very fascinated with the Huffington Post, and I've learned over time they've reduced the number of actual people working there, and they're doing a lot of AI. If my facts are right, they're doing mostly AI. So what does that look like for you guys in terms of actual journalism versus AI journalism?
Yeah, so I just did a TED Talk, Todd, a couple weeks ago. And when I was doing research, I actually found things that surprised me. For every one piece of news that's solutions-based, that is positive, there are at least 17 pieces of news that are negative. And so for us, the question is, does the following piece of information that we publish, does it empower our audience, or does it disempower our audience? You know, when we have people open up the newspaper and suddenly they feel paralyzed about life. They feel paralyzed about waking up and going out because they think it's doom and gloom, and there's no emphasis on positive solutions-based journalism. That's not doing a service for our society. I want people to feel empowered. That's why what you're doing is so important with RiskOn, because this is about empowering people to experience more possibilities in their life, whether it's in their life or in their business. And so that question, that editorial question, is the main value that all of our team has when it comes to what do we print, what do we publish, who do we feature at our events, who do we feature on our television shows. We have a women's television network, we have a general television news network. And so does it empower our audience or does it disempower? Because we have a fiduciary responsibility to ask that question. And I don't think that question's asked enough by the media.
So you have the LA Tribune. What's the future look like for you in terms of expansion? Do you want to get more national? Do you want to be regionalized? Do you want to be in individual markets? What does it look like for you?
So we're going to focus on being an international brand and allowing people in this country, people around the world, to share American values, right? So if you like American values of freedom of speech, if you like the idea of being in control of your destiny, being able to pursue happiness, which is a right that all of us have from God, then you'll support the Los Angeles Tribune. And there's people, like I said, I may not agree with everyone we publish, but they have a right to share their point of view. And we need to also realize one of the biggest dangers to this country right now is censorship. What we've experienced the last few years is unbelievable. I have stories I'll tell you privately about some of the things that happened, Todd, that you wouldn't believe. And when the President of the United States is making a public statement, whether you agree or disagree, you should share that with the American people. You should share when a sitting president is making a video.
Absolutely.
And so we did that, by the way, and I'll share some things with you privately. But again, it's all about making sure that we together focus on freedom of speech. Censorship has no place in this country, and we need to be an example for the world of what it looks like. And so that's what I'm going to continue to do.
You can't yell. There you go. There you go. You can't yell fire. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. I mean, it's illegal, right? But this idea that people are going to choose what can be said and have this sort of truth police around the president, as you talked about. I wanted to ask you a question that I still am mesmerized about. And I just don't understand as American citizens why we are not upset about this. But we were all told that 50 independent agencies said, Now, I'm not this guy, so I want to be clear. I'm going to go down the path here. I'm not this guy. I'm just bringing up a point, okay? So we were all told this Hunter Biden laptop thing was false, right? We were all told this, and 50 independent agencies said it was Russian information. Not only did it end up being 100% true, but it was worse than we expected. And we know, we have checks, evidence that the president was paid by the Chinese. We know it's not even debatable. And then yet they go on TV and say, don't look here. I don't understand it at all. What's happened to journalism where the days of Watergate, where journalists did amazing work, where they crushed people, and they were, I would argue, they were about the story, not about what they wanted to say about it, but the facts. And Ben Bradley didn't let people run a story until they had what they had. You don't have it yet. You don't have it. But now we run shit. We say whatever we want. And then when we don't have it, we don't correct anything. And I don't understand it. And you're a journalist. You're the guy running the paper. How are they getting away with this?
Well, first of all, you mentioned Watergate. I was just at the Richard Nixon library last week.
Yorba Linda.
And there are, in my opinion, there are presidents that have done a lot worse than Richard Nixon since his time in office. And so if you're in Orange County, I encourage folks to visit the library. It's a very beautiful library there in Yorba Linda. Here's the bottom line, Todd. Our responsibility is to share the facts with the people, not tell them how to think. I don't want to encourage anyone to think one particular way, right? It's all about these are the facts on the table, and let the American people know the facts and then make a decision for themselves. So that's my statement on what you said.
Amen, man.